There is a hunger inside you that no food, no bottle, no moment of pleasure can satisfy. A hunger that follows you into every room like a shadow that knows your name. The elders of West Africa had a word for this hunger: the quiet fire, the flame that burns without light. And they warned, a man who does not face his quiet fire will spend his life feeding it poison. Addiction is not about craving. It is about the fire you refuse to face. And so, I welcome you to the path of the silent drum. Chapter 1. The Awakening. Expanded. There is a young man, or maybe he is you. He wakes every morning with the same promise. Today I will stop. Today I will change. But evening arrives, and with it, the voice returns. The craving returns. The negotiation begins. Just once more. Just tonight. I can handle it. I deserve a break. He knows the cycle. He hates the cycle, yet he keeps feeding it. Why? Not because he is weak, but because he is lost. Modern psychology sees habit loops, reward circuits, dopamine chemical withdrawal. But in West Africa, the elders saw something deeper. To them, this young man wasn't broken. He wasn't sick. He wasn't hopeless. He was disconnected, cut off from his spirit, cut off from his lineage, cut off from his meaning, cut off from his silence. Addiction, in their eyes, was not the presence of a substance. It was the absence of self. In many West African traditions, the early symptoms of addiction were described not as a disease, but as a loss of rhythm, the inner drum of the soul beating out of harmony with the person's path. The elders called it the heart that no longer recognizes its owner. Thus, the young man's struggle is not a battle against alcohol or lust or distractions. It is a battle against a silence he has forgotten how to enter. Chapter 2. The ancient system expanded. In Senegal, the griots, the keepers of memory, taught this truth. When a man cannot hear his own soul, he searches for noise that drowns it. The old African man, the silent drummer, understood this. He sits before the ngoma drum, hands resting gently on its skin, yet he never plays it. Why? Because the drum is not a tool of sound, but a tool of listening. In West African cosmology, the drum represents the heart. Its rhythm reveals the spirit. Its silence reveals the truth. A heart in turmoil beats loudly. A heart at peace becomes silent. Addiction, then, is the drum beating out of rhythm. Not because something is wrong with the drum, but because the drummer has forgotten the dance. The silent drummer teaches, a person addicted is a person at war with their lost self. The substance is the battlefield. The real enemy is the distance between you and the person you were meant to be. In some Malian traditions, when a person began acting in ways that harmed themselves repeatedly, elders didn't say they were weak. They said, his spirit is wandering. And so, the healing was not about removing the substance, but calling the spirit back home. Chapter 3. The internal war, massive expansion. Inside every addict lives two people, the one who seeks escape and the one who seeks meaning. They battle constantly. Biology pulls you toward relief. Psychology pulls you toward numbness. Identity pulls you toward familiarity. But the old African man says, the war is not between you and the craving. The war is between you and your silence. Think about it. When you drink, when you scroll endlessly, when you chase lust, when you binge sugar, when you gamble, when you escape into fantasies, you are not running toward the substance. You are running away from the quiet where truth lives, the quiet where the shadow waits, the quiet where your wounds call your name. Addiction is a voice that whispers, do not look at yourself. In Yoruba tradition, the shadow self is described as the ojiji, the part of you that follows silently behind, watching, waiting. In Ghana, The Akan call it the Kradua, the forgotten spiritual twin. In Igbo cosmology, it is the Chi, the personal spirit whose guidance you forget when overwhelmed by earthly desires. Across West Africa, the same truth appears. If you ignore your shadow long enough, it becomes the one guiding your steps. This is why relapses feel powerful. Not because the substance is powerful, but because your shadow has been waiting in the silence you refuse to confront. Every relapse is a message. Your shadow is calling, and you are refusing to listen. Chapter 4. The One Path. Expanded. The silent drummer teaches a principle older than kingdoms. You cannot defeat what you refuse to name. In West African traditions, healing always begins with naming the wound, naming the fear, naming the hunger, naming the silence, because what remains unnamed becomes uncontrollable. Addiction survives not through strength, but through vagueness. Addiction thrives in sentences like, "It's just something I do. It helps me relax. I need a little escape. It's not that deep. I can stop whenever I want." Number. This is the voice of distance. The voice that refuses to name what is true. The path begins with a single sentence, spoken with the courage of your ancestors. "This is what I am using to escape my life." The elders believed that truth spoken aloud breaks enchantment. That by naming the shadow, you strip it of its disguise. Addiction dies not when it is resisted, but when it is understood. To name the truth is to take the first step on the one path. Chapter 5. Practice without gaps. Deep expansion. In Zimbabwe, the proverb says, "A crack that is ignored becomes the doorway for a storm." In addiction, the crack is the gap, the space where you believe you can negotiate with your weakness. Modern psychology calls it the liminal moment, the craving window, the negotiation phase, but the silent drummer calls it the moment the fire tests your truth. In West African warrior traditions, a man who chose a path eliminated negotiation. If he was to fast, he fasted fully. If he was to fight, he removed the option of retreat. If he was to resist temptation, he burned the bridge behind him. This was not seen as rigidity, but protection. Identity is shaped not by what you do occasionally, but by what you refuse to negotiate, ever. Modern neuroscience now affirms this. The brain rewires fastest when choices become identity-level decisions, not "I'm trying to quit," but "I don't do that anymore." The silent drummer teaches, leave no gaps for weakness to enter. You decide once, you commit fully, you eliminate negotiation, you honor your silence. This is the rhythm of discipline. Chapter 6. Pre-solutions, major expansion. Before a West African warrior entered battle, he prepared for every obstacle in advance. Not during the fight, not when fear arrived, not when doubt whispered. Preparation happened before the challenge. This is what behavioral psychology calls a pre-commitment strategy. But the elders used a simpler phrase: tie your spear before the lion appears. For addiction, this means preparing your evenings, preparing your solitude, preparing your triggers, preparing your weak hours, preparing your environment, preparing your silence, preparing your identity. Because the time to prepare is not when the craving strikes. It is hours, even days, before. Addiction grows where preparation is absent. Addiction weakens where systems are built. The silent drummer teaches, a man who prepares in the light does not fear his shadow in the dark. And so, you must become the warrior who ties his spear. Chapter 7. The Three Hunger Spirits. New chapter. Across many West African cultures, Elders spoke of 3 hunger spirits that pull a man toward addiction. 1. The hunger for numbness, the desire to stop feeling. This is the spirit that whispers, "Let me forget." 2. The hunger for noise, the desire to drown out the inner voice. This spirit whispers, "Keep me distracted." 3. The hunger for connection, the desire to feel something meaningful. This spirit whispers, "Fill my emptiness." Addiction is powerful because it offers all 3 at once. But the elders taught that these spirits are not demons. They are messengers. Messengers telling you where the wound lies. If you numb yourself, if you distract yourself, if you seek false connection, it is because you have lost the real thing. You do not heal by fighting these spirits. You heal by hearing them. Chapter 8. The Broken Lineage, New Chapter. In West African belief systems, a person is never just one person. They are a continuation of those before them. You carry your father's silence, your mother's wounds, your ancestors' unspoken pain, your lineage's unfinished lessons. Addiction often begins when a person believes he is alone. But the elders said, "A man alone is a man easily defeated." When you forget your lineage, you forget your strength. When you remember your lineage, you remember your fire. Healing addiction is not just healing yourself, it is healing the broken link in your ancestral chain. You rise, and everything behind you rises with you. Chapter 9, The Returning, New Chapter. Transformation in West African philosophy is not becoming something new. It is returning to what you abandoned, returning to your center, your truth, your silence, your destiny, your inner fire, Nyama. When a man heals from addiction, he becomes someone ancient. He becomes the man he was before trauma, the man he was before running, the man his lineage dreamed of, the man his ancestors prayed for. This is the birth of the disciplined self, the death of the negotiated self, the return of the sovereign self. Final call, walk the path. The silent drummer never strikes his drum because his life is the rhythm, and so is yours. The path is simple, but not easy. Face your silence, name your shadow, prepare your spear, eliminate negotiation. Honor your inner fire. This is the way of West African philosophy. This is the way of the silent drum. If this truth speaks to you, if these teachings resonate with your journey, subscribe to Silent Drum and walk the path of ancestral truth. Your silence is waiting, and it has something to tell you.